All right, guys, welcome to Beard of Darkness Book Reviews. We are finally here, John.
We,
The cameras are working, brother.
I can't believe it. I can't
I,
believe it. This is
I
like
know
a mulligan.
it is. Yeah. So when we did this the first time, my camera literally in real time just kind of crapped out. But we're here. We're talking, and I'm so happy to finally have you on. This is John Minton from Talking Story. How are you today? I hear you were on the trails.
Yes, yeah. My wife and I hit the mountain bike trails this morning. It was awesome, beautiful. The weather was perfect, 70 degrees.
Oh
Great
yeah.
ride.
So
No
where are
one.
you at?
We're in North Carolina, kind of in. No one fell. That's what at our age. If no one falls, that was a good ride.
Yeah, dude. So is it like I know North Carolina, you've got a lot of there's mountainous areas, like wooded areas. Is that kind of the area you're in?
Yeah, kind of more wooded than mountains, but we're not too far from the mountains.
That's one. I only know that because I used to watch this show, and I thought this whole show, I think it was a History Channel. I could have sworn it was Alaska, and when they said North Carolina, I'm like, oh my gosh, they have beautiful winters too.
Oh
Uh,
man, it is. There's like up in the Blue Ridge, up in the mountains, like it's stunning. Like we took a trip to Ireland. My wife took me for my birthday one year, and it's like you go up there, and it's just as gorgeous. It's amazing.
wow. So yeah, I have to go there with my family one year. We've been wanting, like, once we were done having kids and stuff, to go like a lodge, like
Yeah.
a log cabin kind of deal, and have some fun. It sounds like, and we're pretty close. I'm in Ohio. It's
Oh
not
yeah,
too
man.
far.
Yeah.
Um,
If you guys ever make it, let me know. I will come buy you all dinner.
all right, man. I'll take you up on that.
Yeah,
So
I would love to do. Yes, moonshine is a thing. Yes, absolutely, absolutely. You think that's a joke? It still goes on. I've got some very special apple pie mixture in a mason jar in my fridge right now.
I live. I love that, man, because we live in very similar areas. I live at the beginning of the Appalachian Mountains, so it's very much a thing here too.
Oh, that's what I
It,
meant. It's Appalachia. I said Blue Ridge. I don't know what the heck I'm talking about. Yeah, it's Appalachian Mountains. Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't personally have like a lot of buddies, but I have buddies that have buddies.
Yeah.
If I needed it, I could find it. We actually have a place here called Pap's Hilltop. He does honey, and he also does legal moonshine. But he's got his still in his store. It's gorgeous. It's a copper still. It's all legal,
Oh
uh,
man.
but it's
Yeah.
beautiful, and it's strong. It's the strongest that you can legally get. It's fun though. The store's beautiful. If you guys ever get a chance, listeners, anybody, to check out a copper still, it's really cool. It's really like a science experiment. Um,
Yeah, they're wild, right?
yeah, absolutely. So a little bit about your channel. When did you start it? And yeah, when did you start it? What was your inspiration behind starting your channel?
Ah, we started. I think we're coming on 6 months. We started about 6 months ago, and it was. I've been kind of not reading as much as I was when I was younger, and kind of knew about the same writers that I've been following forever. And I just heard about this thing called BookTube. It's like, I'm just gonna Google this and check this out. I'm just gonna maybe find some new people to read. Uh, and it was like a rabbit hole, dude. Like I just fell down. I started watching just hours and hours of BookTube, and it was like, this is the coolest community ever. Like
Oh,
I was just smitten. And it was like, and I think the first person I kind of found was Mike, and then Petrick, and it's just like, everybody, Tori and Alan. I mean, I've got like, you go down the rabbit hole, and it's like, oh my God, it's like, it's the coolest thing ever. And I started trying out some new writers, and I was like, man, I love these. These are great recommendations. And I was kind of just boring my kid and my family with, all the new stuff I was finding. And they were like, my kid was like, I'll help you build a channel. Why don't you throw your voice out there too? And it was like, I have always loved hanging out and talking books, talking story with friends. For a while, it was when I was in theater, it was all about scripts and plays, and then comics when I was running a comic store, or just books when I was running around with friends that read a bunch of books. And then, the older you get, the more you get involved with your family or building a business or whatever. It's hard to find time for friends. And then you wake up one morning and look around, and it's like, man, I don't have the friends I used to have. I don't got people to talk books with or anything else. So it's like, let me throw my voice out there and see what happens. And it's been awesome. I mean, that was the whole thing. The whole thing was just like, I would like to talk to some people about books again. I missed that. And it's been amazing.
Yeah, so our experience is very similar. Timothy Wolf, another wonderful indie author, he said, I think Mike and or Daniel are most people's first step down the rabbit hole. Yeah, mine was Mike.
Yeah. I think it was. I think mine was Mike, and then Daniel was probably right after.
Yeah, both freaking wonderful channels.
Oh, dude, they're awesome. And if you just Google like BookTube, who should you look at? Like those are those names that come up.
I feel very blessed to hear that, Tim, that Beard was my intro. That's awesome. I'm
That's
that
awesome.
guy for somebody. All
yeah,
right.
There you go, man. You've made it. You have made it.
Right.
You can now retire. You can now retire, Beard.
The Beard has, well, I don't know if I want, this is so much fun. I don't think that,
right?
But speaking of Mike, it's going to be Tori, Mike, me, and Matt from Go Read Books. We're doing something this Saturday.
Really? What are you doing?
We're just going to be chatting it up. There's no real, just kind of talking about books. I haven't really come up with the script yet, but it's going to be fun.
Oh, that's awesome, man. That is awesome.
Probably just talking about our channels, like what's coming, maybe some favorite books that we've all read together, kind of talking about it. I don't know. I haven't really come up with it.
I will. Unless something comes up, I will be there.
Awesome. I can't wait. Yeah, you were there for Philip Chase. You were hanging out there. You had some wonderful questions. He's such a fun guy, man.
Yeah, and he's one of the channels I found early, Dr. Fantasy. And it's like, I was like, Dr. Fantasy, it sounds like your favorite 70s funk rock fusion band.
Doesn't it?
Yeah, right. So it's like I checked it out and it's like, oh man, this guy knows what he's talking about. And then I think he's coming on my channel the 15th to talk about. I finished the first book in the trilogy, and it's like,
is it really what the hype is? I haven't started it yet. I can't wait. But what did you feel about it?
It blew my hair back a little bit, man. Like, he is so amazing. He walks this knife edge, this line. The language has this classical formal feel. You feel like you're reading a Greek myth or Tolkien or something, but at the same time, he walks that knife edge and he makes it so modern and so readable that you never get bogged down in the language. Like, you just realize it's like, man, I've blown through 100 pages and never looked up. Like, this is just, it's just grabbed you and won't let go. Right. And it definitely has that classical feel. And at the same time, I absolutely love, like my personal weakness is, if it's a story that covers how important story as a form is to us as a species, culture, people, fill in the blank, what it does, how it defines us, how it inspires us, how it shapes our very reality by the stories we tell. And there's so much of that in there that's just one of the major themes about it. And that's my soft spot. And I was just blown away by it. And I can't wait to talk to him about it.
I bet, because, my reference from speaking with him was his channel and, the fact that I want to read his books. That's going to be fun to watch. I can't wait to watch you kind of engage with him about his story now that you've dipped into it. I know I've heard a lot from Go Read Books, Matt Pittman.
I think Matt said it's one of his favorite trilogies now, right?
Yeah, he touts them books daily. Very influential with what he says about that trilogy. And from what I've heard from you, it seems almost elemental or like basic. Like you said, all of us are a story. Everything in history is a story. And if you could connect with your reader through the author that way, oh my gosh.
And it's so primal for us. And it explores how story can be used against us. As far as propaganda goes, there's story that are put into motion to cause this entire holy war that's happening in the first book. And it's like, oh, we have these people on the street corner pushing it. We have these people from the pulpit pushing it. And it's like everyone's being pushed to like this horrible holy war through the act of story and what people are believing on the streets. And it's just layer upon layer upon layer of the theme of story and how it can work against us, and how history is written by the winners. Well, what's really history? Are we really that different as a people, or did we really all come from the same place, but that's being shrouded by layers of history that have been written from that beginning? Man, it's fascinating. I'm telling you. Yeah.
You have honestly put a whole new layer to this. And look at Caden, man. Look at that. Two of my favorite booktubers finally reunited.
Yeah, he was here the last time when everything went wrong, and I blame myself. Somehow I did it. I'm horrible with technology.
No, it wasn't him. It was me.
No, I'm telling you, it was my vibage, man. Ask my kid. I'm the worst with technology.
Well, at first it's kind of like it's a learning curve. Like to do what we're doing right now. Oh my gosh! If you see my first interview, which I keep on here because I always like to look back at it, it's like, that was that stepping stone.
You're a braver dude than me, man. I don't think I could look back.
It's terrible. And I have to have Casey Sutton. He's an indie author. This guy traveled to my home, like brought me a book. It's just very good. I owe him a better interview. He's had some life stuff going on, so he can't do it at the moment. But when he can, I will give him a mulligan, if you will.
What an amazing guy, though. That's awesome.
Yeah, so he lives in Athens, which is like an hour away from me. And he's like, look, I'm not mailing you this book. Like, I'm going to come meet your family. And like, if you're cool with it. And he totally did. It was so cool.
Man, he's one of the good ones. That's amazing.
Yeah. So what has been the most fun for you as a booktuber? Is it recording videos? Is it interviews or something else?
Dude, it's this right here. This is it. This is, I have been like pumped about this since the Sunday night. I was thinking, ooh, I get to go on with the bearded one on Wednesday. I mean, the whole point for me is to be able to talk to people that love books as much as me, and to reach out and have a community, and to be a part of something bigger than myself, and feel like you found a place to belong. And I love comments, but to actually be able to see somebody's face and talk back and forth and get to meet somebody, it's like now after we're done with this today, is like I know that dude, it's like not just in comments, so it's this is it for me. This is huge.
I have to totally agree with you. I kind of touch on this a lot, but culture and getting to know people through what we're doing right now, whether it's an author and I get to know, because a lot of the time I like to talk with the author first, and then but sometimes I do read the books before I talk with them. But a lot of the time it's like, I want to get to know the author, because that's a privilege of doing what I'm doing. It's like, that adds just a whole nother layer to it. It's so much fun. And I agree with you.
Yeah. Oh my God. I've gotten to talk to a couple authors, and Philip's coming up for me. It's like to be enamored with this story, and then to be able to sit and talk with the person that created it. Like, what a thrill, man. Like we're living in amazing times. I've been reading this stuff since, I can't even add that high of how many years ago it was. But this never existed. You could never talk to someone.
The first time I really realized that, it was one of my earliest interviews with here's his book here. I got to show it. It's so beautiful. It's the only broken binding book I have.
Oh man, they're so gorgeous.
Gaurav Mohanty's Sons of Darkness with the sprayed. Yeah, it's so beautiful. But this book was such a learning curve for me, because it's a lot of Indian culture and mythology and lore and a lot of culture, especially. It's based off of an ancient poem that I can't pronounce, but I had him on. And yeah. But I give it all the utmost respect. I had him
absolutely
on, and it was like India. He was in India, and it's just like, the world is small anymore. It's like I can talk with him and through the internet, and it's such a cool experience.
Yeah. I mean, the first author that, and I've said this so many times, I've given like the Brave Soul Award, because like Michael R. Miller contacted me and said, hey, if you ever want to interview me, like I'd love to do it. And it's like, dude, I had like I think -5 subscribers. Like I had just, you know, like,
-5.
like what is he? Sure, I'd love to talk to you. I don't know. Yes, yes. Have you
Such
read
a
that
good
yet?
book. Oh yes, it's
Oh,
so
dude,
good.
love
He
that.
he
And so he
no, go
got to
ahead, go ahead.
talk to him, a Scottish man living in London, and that was like the first guy I got to talk to and do an interview with. And it's like, man, the world is small.
I absolutely does the English accent just make everything more legit to you, or is that just me?
No, yeah, no. I
It's
mean,
it's
absolutely,
it's like if I'm
absolutely.
listening to a audiobook and it's got the British or English accent, it's like, yeah, whatever this person says in that accent, it just means it's the truth.
I buy it, right? Like I'm
Yeah.
talking to him, and he's got that gorgeous little Scottish lilt to everything he says, right? And I'm just talking to him like I sound like a doofus. Like I am so subconscious about I sound like I you know
No, no, no. I think it's just natural when we're speaking with people because I feel the same way. Like when somebody says, "Oh, I like your voice," I'm like, "No, you don't," because listen to
no,
this
come on.
guy.
And I mean, do you have the same thing? You watch a video back, or I remember back in the day, you put a cassette in and hear your voice back, and it's like that's not
Oh,
me.
yeah, I know,
What type
right?
of sorcery is that? Because I don't sound like that at all. That's a horrible voice.
Yeah, no, I 100% agree with you. It's my wife will like play my kids stupid Nat will play something on the TV like my one of my interviews and I'm like, "Look, please turn that off."
Yeah. Oh
It's
no,
just
I
I
can't.
can't watch. But either way, it's so much fun and I'm glad that we're here and we kind of get along in the fact that we're here for the people. We're here for the community. It's so much fun. What are you currently reading?
I just finished "We Are the Dead" by
Oh,
Mike Shackle.
yes.
Have you read this one?
No, I'm starting it because he's coming on my channel soon.
Oh my god, dude! This is like if you like grimdark, this is bleak in the best way. It is amazing, and I've just like 50 pages into Sun Eater book one. So
It's funny
just
because I'll have to start that one soon because he's also going to be on my channel
oh,
soon.
I don't know how you do it. Like you do this high wired thing. Like I've watched several of your interviews, and it's like you just like I'm going to get to this book, but I'm going to talk to this. And it's like, I would never have the stones to do that. Like I would be afraid unless I've read at least the first book or something and I can
Yeah.
dive into the work or have some, I could never do that high wire act that you pull off so well.
Well, I appreciate that. I think it just comes from I like people, and then I know that I'm going to be interested in their book, or that I'm already interested in your book. But I like to talk with people first. What's We'll get to a couple questions over here. I feel like I'm
Yeah,
ignoring you guys.
absolutely.
I'm so sorry. What's the fastest you've ever read a book, Matt? Oh my gosh, probably
Come on, Matt. Come on, Matt. Impress all
not
of
very
us.
fast. No, like a week.
Well, that's
And
pretty
probably
good.
yeah. Um, I'm not a super fast reader. I wish I was. Let's see. Yes, we are all people behind a story, not just a stack of paper on a shelf. Yes. And he's saying that as an author. I love that, which I can't wait to read your book. His book sounds so interesting. There's
Yes.
it's gonna when you'll have to let me know in the comments, Caden, when that comes out because I'd like to
January.
shout it out.
He just shouted, he just let me know on Twitter, January. Like early
January.
January 6th or something like that. Yeah. And
Looking forward to it.
heck yeah, man.
And
Kids with powers and then the aristocracy mining organs from them to
that was it.
I am all in on that. Absolutely all in on that.
With the harvesting organs, I was like, man, that is
Yes.
different. That's different,
Yeah.
and in a great way though.
Yeah,
Um,
yeah. I mean, family drama with that type of bleak magic system is like I absolutely am excited for that.
so let's both answer this because I'm not sure who that's directed to, but both of us could answer this. If you could get anyone to agree to an interview on your channel, who would it be? Who would it be for you, John?
Oh wow. Mm, I mean, if man, probably Stephen King because I've read him like the longest. Like I was just commenting someone back and forth. They had watched my 10 best Stephen King reads or something, whatever that video is that I threw out there.
Yep.
And they were talking about, it's like, I've traveled with that writer through so many years now. Like, there's so many signposter moments of my own life that I attach to. Well, that's when that book that I was graduating high school when I was reading that Stephen King book. I was getting married when I was reading that Stephen King book. I was like, his work and my life are so entirely intertwined because I've been reading him now for so many years of my life. And just commenting someone back and forth, and I can't remember who it was, but I mean, what a magic thing, to have an artist be a part of your life, to an artist's work be a part of your life like that.
Yeah.
So if I could grab anybody, I think I'd love to talk to him, because I've read him for decades.
Well, you have a great reason too. You're not just like, oh, because he sold the most books or he's the most popular. It's because he had a personal attachment to your life.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful reason, and that's
And
kind of the.
and
Go
his
ahead. I'm sorry.
work his work is so different. Like, when he puts so much of I'm convinced he does characters that are so real and we can all connect with, because he puts so much of himself into his characters. So there's a weird way that we know a good deal about him. And it depends on where you are in life when you read his work, is how it hits you. Like, Pet Cemetery doesn't make my list. A lot of people makes their best list. I read it when I was a kid, and I don't think I had experienced being a parent. I don't think I had experienced grief and loss, which is really the themes he was talking about there. So I don't think it hit me at all how it should hit me. But he put
Okay.
so much of himself in it. I bet if I read it now, it would floor me, because all of his work, he's one of those artists that I find his work to be extremely personal. So it's always brave. He's always willing to open himself up and put himself out there.
He was probably the first author and I found reading at a later age. I was 29. I'm turning 33 this month. I have not been reading very long.
That's really later. Yeah.
So
Man, fair
I
play to
hate it.
you, brother, for doing this.
Yeah, I just didn't get into reading. I never. Just real quick, the reason I did, I got kind of sick and I couldn't go on like a physical adventure, so I took myself on a mind adventure or imagination adventure, and I just have taken off with it since then. But my answer to Caden Love's question would probably, for me, if it's not Stephen King, because I don't have the personal attachment that you do, it's going to be James Rollins.
Oh, yeah.
He would be so much fun to talk to, just because he was probably the first. In fact, he was him or J.M. Miro, which J.M. Miro is a newer author, so I would probably choose James Rollins, because he's got he wrote as James Clemens for his fantasy series when he first started writing, and then switched it to James Rollins, and he does still some fantasy. The
Right.
Moonfall Saga, and then he does the Sigma Force series, which is like 17 books long now.
Wow.
Yeah,
I didn't know it was that long.
yeah. He just came out. There was book 17, Tides of Fire, I believe it was called.
And
Yeah,
that's more like adventure, techno thriller kind of.
exactly, techno
Yeah.
thriller. He goes to like these or these technological conventions himself. His name's James Chakowski, I believe his real name is. No, not Chakowski, something like that.
Was that who you discovered when you were sick and like?
So it was J.M. Miro was the first one with Ordinary Monsters, but then 90% of it afterwards, so around the same time, was James Rollins. So yeah, both of them at the same time. But it was more so James Rollins just because he's got more books.
Sure. Yeah.
I was doing the audio books in the hospital, like over and over, just so many of them.
Yeah. Isn't that amazing how you can be laid up in a hospital and still, like, the doors to your mind can just take you anywhere?
I hadn't even given it a chance before. And when I did, I just, like I said, took off with it.
Life-changing.
Yeah, it is. Book Mama 87 says, the books are so much more special to me if I get to see the author interviews. We, the people, are thankful for them. Well, thank you.
Oh, that's awesome. Yeah.
And Tim McKay, yes. James Rollins all the way. He joined my Discord, and I remember him. He's seen my old shelf, and he's like, "Hey, you've got a lot of James Rollins. I love him." So that's a good memory, Tim, of you saying that to me. I had forgotten that. Um, let's see here. When did your love for literature start? Were you young?
I was young. I was really young. I'm thinking probably like late middle school, early junior high, probably like I was 11 to 13, somewhere in there. And I grew up in a really small town in Texas. And I soon learned that my mom would never say no to a book. Like if I wanted a book, we would load up in the car, we'd drive 40 minutes into the city and go to the mall and, hit Walden Books or B Dalton's. And, and I could always pick out a book or two, and she would always never say no for that. So for me, it was like, it could be my birthday or Christmas every time I finished a book and need a new one.
Wow.
So that was the initial incentive. And then it was just like, I discovered, T.H. White with the Once and Future King, and I discovered C.S. Lewis with the Narnia stuff, and I discovered Tolkien with The Hobbit. And it's like, once I hit like some of those things, and then once I hit junior high, like 13, 14, like I picked up my first Stephen King, and it was over after that, right? So, yeah.
He's one of those authors. What was your first Stephen King book?
I can't remember exactly, but I think it was either The Shining or Dead Zone. It was one of those two.
The Shining. I haven't gotten to that one yet. So I've only read maybe 5 Stephen King books, but my favorite so far, I'm looking at them right now. I'm not just like aimlessly looking up at the ceiling. So far, I would say Fairy Tale, man. I really liked Fairy Tale.
You liked Fairy Tale?
I loved it.
Crazy about it. I love the character work. I felt the ending got rushed, man. I thought, I wish we could have got to it sooner.
Okay, yeah.
The ending for me got a bit rushed. So I didn't think it was one of his best. But again, hats off to the dude for being this late in the game and just going, you know what? I know what everybody wants from me. I know what I've done, and I'm going to do something entirely different.
Something different.
Yeah.
Now, that was the first book that I had. My wife didn't read either. And when I started, I had been trying to convince her, and she was pregnant and like dealing with all the kids. And I said, look, it's just one of the best ways. Like, I know, like when I'm in the hospital, she would be here taking care of 3 kids, and I'm in the hospital, and I'm telling her to read, But she finally got a hold of Fairy Tale.
Husband of the year there, man.
Right? And so she finally picked up Fairy Tale, and she liked it. But you're right, Stephen King doesn't really write those kind of books. Now, I know he's got one other, The Eye of the Dragon.
Eye of the Dragon, yeah. And that was a good while back.
Have you read that?
Yeah, I read it when it first came out. And I read it because I'm a huge Dark Tower fan. Ooh. And the guy that's from Dark Tower is in that as well. So
I didn't know that. Now, see, last Christmas, my grandfather-in-law, he got me the box set for the Dark Tower. And I hate that I can't say I loved it. I just did not like it.
It is weird, man. It is weird. It is out there.
It is.
And I'm convinced, again, there's a lot of personal stuff in there for him. I think when he was fighting some demons from substance abuse and different, like there's a lot of stuff in there that is, man, it is off the beaten track. It is weird. It is weird. But at the same time, again, my soft spot, it's a love story. It is a love letter to story. He touches, like, this is not only me tying together all of my work. I'm going to throw L. Frank Baum's and other stuff in there and just make it a love letter to story in general.
I think Mike's nose must have been itching or something, because we were talking about you earlier, Mike. He says, I mean, Dark Tower is mostly fantasy, so he does write books like that. Well, again, that's an experience I haven't had, because I started the Dark Tower and I got through the first book and a half, and I couldn't go any farther. Maybe I didn't make it to the best. Maybe I didn't give it long enough.
It gets weird, man. It gets weird. I love it.
Weird.
I love it. I don't know. I'm wonder if Mike. I know Mike loves Stephen King. I'm not sure if he loves the Dark Tower or not. He probably does.
I remember watching some some books or some videos about him talking about it, and I think he does. He says, "Hi, I'm working, just popped in. Hope it was not nice thing said." Yeah, well, I think it's probably the nicest thing we could have
Yeah,
said.
it was the absolute nicest thing said.
We both started our booktube venture with you as our inspiration, brother.
Yeah,
I think that's
so it's your fault.
it's all his fault. Damn
Everyone can
him.
blame Mike. Like for everything else, they blame him for.
Yeah. No, we love your channel, brother. So thank you for popping in, man. Can't wait to talk Saturday. Yes, I do top 5 fantasy series ever, even with my problem in 6 and 7. Okay.
Yeah, I'd say it's definitely in my top 10. But I mean, I don't think of Stevie. I mean, yeah, Dark Tower, definitely fantasy, Eye of the Dragon, Fairy Tale, but it's like out 80 some odd books. Like he's a horror writer to me. He always will be.
And I
but
think
he does do fantasy. Yeah, absolutely.
I don't think that you're alone in that either. Like I think it was maybe Mike's again. I watched. He's like, we all know him as a horror author, but he's also got these other types, like The Institution, for example.
So that's one I haven't read yet. That's sitting on my
really
stack.
good.
Have you read that one?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's really, really good. And it's different. Like it's way different than what he normally does. It's not a horror. It's almost kind of like there's telepathy and some different weird stuff in it. It was fun. It's been a little bit since I've read it. But it was fun.
And some of my favorite stuff of his of all time, like I put Different Seasons way up on my list because when he just deals with, no supernatural law, it's just a human experience, books like the Body or Shawshank, or, it's like, I think he hits his absolute stride in those and it's just, I don't know if you consider it literary fiction or just drama, but I mean, for me, that's some of when he absolutely hits it out of the park and shines. So he's tough to pin down. He's all over, man.
It's cool because I think I've experienced more of his outside work as far as the non-horror Stephen King than I have horror. Now, my next immediate reads with him is It.
Oh yeah,
I haven't read It because boy, that's one brick of a book.
Yeah, it's a chunker, but dude, that is you're gonna get some horror there for sure.
All right, I can't wait. And then Lizzie's Story, I've only read half of it, but it's so good so far.
I haven't read that one, I don't think.
It starts off. Her husband is an author, and he dies, something along those lines. And that doesn't spoil anything. It says that on the back.
Yeah.
And some stuff happens. There's some like paranormal stuff. I haven't made it that far, but I would say that It. And then, have you read The Outsider?
No.
It's really good too. I love that we've read different books of Stephen King.
I mean, that's together so we got no blind spots. But my blind spot, like when I was deep working into theater and all I was reading was script after script after script after script. Like I was reading, I had no time to read anything else. So I've got like a really big blind spot. And then when I came to BookTube, and it's like everyone's talking about Brandon Sanderson and Joe Abercrombie, and it's like I have no idea who these guys are. Like I'm not a clue.
I'm so happy that I know who Joe Abercrombie is finally, but I didn't before I hit BookTube. Same with Brandon Sanderson.
Yeah, and I've read the first trilogy of Joe the first Law trilogy, and it's like now it's on my all-time list, right?
So did you I remember there was one night I'm reading The Blade itself, and his references to like genitals, and specifically the slapping fruits as he gets out of the shower. I died. I think my wife, it was like 2 a.m. My wife's like, "What the hell's wrong with you?" I just couldn't stop laughing.
Yeah.
Just the way
there's so much of his stuff that is hilarious. I mean, and it's, I mean, no one will know this is really inside baseball for me, but it's like there's a playwright that I absolutely love, and you'll catch yourself just laughing out loud at this show. And then in the back of your head, there's a voice like, this, you really should not laugh at this. It is completely inhumane to be laughing at this. And Abercrombie treads that same ground, man. Absolutely.
And from what I understand, the guy really didn't write much before he was published and, did The Blade itself, it's pretty fascinating because you often hear of like, especially Stephen King. He had a couple nails. He had to start making new nails for all those denials, which is inspiring too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So I've always wanted to ask you, and you've kind of touched it on a little bit. What did you do that kind of prepared you for book two, or like you said, theater? What have you done with in your life that has made you such a personable person?
Uh, I don't know about. I mean, I didn't have any. Well, it's weird. You know, when you start, you sit down. It's like, okay, talk about this book, and here's the camera. It's weird.
It is. It's very weird.
It's weird, right? So you got to get around that. I think I got around it kind of quick because I've done a lot of theater. I've worked in front of a camera, and I've done a lot of stage work and stuff like that. So I had a little bit of that. Yeah, I spent a lot of years in the theater. Yeah.
So were you like a stage director, or like what was your role in that?
I did some directing. I lived in LA for about 10 years. I did some TV film work here and there, and moved back to my hometown, started my own theater company, was producing artistic director of that for, I lost track of how many years there. So directed shows, performed in shows.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
That's really fun, man. I didn't know that about you, and I knew there was a little tidbit in there that I hadn't known, and that's it right there. And it shows because you have a lot of you're informative when you speak about a book. Something that I aim to get better at, and being critical, and what I mean by using words like, okay, let's say prose, tropes, stuff like that, but a lot more deep. Themes. I want to get better at explaining myself using that type of terminology.
See, I think you're selling yourself short, man. For me, art exists, and I think it's so important. And what I love about BookTube, right, is we can actually reach out and touch the writers and touch the artists, and there's a real important connection between audience and critical thought back to the writer. And art exists to elicit an emotional response. So if that book makes you feel one way or the other, you're golden, man. That's all you have to relay to that writer or anybody else about it. I mean, this is the emotional response it evoked in me, and here's how I feel about it. Because yeah, I mean, that's for me. And then that pathway back and forth of that's what starts the conversation, and that's what's important. And that's what we remember all those years later about being touched by art. It's not, oh, wow, he was really had his words together and stuff. You know what I mean? Like,
man, I really appreciate that comment then.
Yeah, no, absolutely. If it makes you feel something and you can relay what it felt, what you felt when you read it, you're as absolutely valid to put your thoughts out there as anybody in the world.
Well, that's really what I think I've been doing then. I appreciate you saying that.
100% you have. 100% you have.
I think sometimes I look at things, like I said, it's only been 4 or 5 years I've been doing the book thing. And I'm like, I'm just not experienced enough. So because I put a lot of emotion into what I do. So to hear that from you really makes me feel good about it. So I appreciate you.
Yeah, man, I can see it.
So would you say that, Steve, I have this, what's your favorite author? Sometimes these questions get answered before I get to them, but just so I've covered it, would you say that Stephen King is your favorite?
He's one of, I mean, for me, it's Stephen King, Robert McCammon, David Mitchell, I'm sure I'm forgetting somebody. Dan Simmons is way up there for some. I mean, some more than others, but
you're a Hyperion fan.
Oh, love Hyperion.
I haven't read it yet, but I hear wonderful things.
Love Hyperion. I just watched Petrick's video today about SFF News, and Curious King is doing a collector's edition of Hyperion next.
Ooh, I have to watch that.
Oh my God. I commented to Petrick. It's like, okay, now I got to plan a bank job to buy that, because I mean, it's out of this world expensive,
Sure.
But it'll be beautiful.
I think I watched, I know who it was. It was Daniel Green. He bought, oh my goodness. It was some sort of a collector set.
The Hitchhiker's Guide set?
Yes, that's it. Yeah. The Hitchhiker's Guide. It was like $500 or $5,000 that I was like, dude, this is pretty, but I don't know.
Yeah, man, that's too rich for my blood. I mean, if I could, I probably would, but not my world.
Now, who wrote that?
Douglas Adams.
Douglas Adams. That's right. That's right. I write these down because I love to research about some more authors that I'm not super familiar with.
Oh, if you haven't tried Hitchhiker's Guide, man, you will laugh out loud. You will laugh out loud. The whole thing starts up about this alien race is making a superhighway, and Earth is in the way of it, so they're just going to demolish it to make the highway.
Oh God,
Yeah,
that
I
sounds
mean,
hilarious.
oh, it's Monty Python on paper, man. You will absolutely love it.
I've got to check that out now.
Yeah.
But I think kind of the point where I was getting at is like I've heard so much about Hyperion and the Hitchhiker's Guide. Uh, I have to be more of a sci-fi person from when I have more time. Obviously, I love fantasy. I love epic fantasy, but I think there's a special spot that's waiting to be filled in my heart with sci-fi. I never gave it much of a chance before.
Yeah.
I don't
Tim
know
is
why.
right. The movie is stellar of Hitchhiker's Guide.
Now, the guy that played in Honey, I Shrunk the Kids, he's in that, correct?
I don't know if he's in that, but I know Bill Nighy is amazing.
Bill Nighy.
And what's that other guy's name? He plays Zaphod.
I can picture these guys, but I can't.
Yeah, I can't remember that guy's name. What's his name? Martin Freeman. No, Martin Freeman's in it, but the kid that was in 3 Billboards.
Oh, I have no idea.
I can't think of his name. It'll come to me as soon as we get off here, man.
We'll put it in the description.
Yeah. But he's one of my favorite actors. I can't believe I can't think of it.
It's usually those people when we're asked about them, the ones that we love the most, where you just completely have a brain fart. You're like, I can't think of it. Now you don't believe that that's my favorite actor.
Yeah.
You know?
Sam Rockwell. That's it. Oh my God.
Awesome.
Ever since Galaxy Quest, he's been one of my all-time favorites. Yes.
That was such a good movie. Galaxy Quest. That brings me back.
Oh, one of the most perfect movies I've ever seen, man. Love that. Love that movie.
Oh man, I have to go watch that after this now because I haven't thought about.
Oh, have you seen the documentary about it? Oh, it's on Amazon Prime. There's a documentary about that movie. It's amazing.
Oh my gosh, I'm gonna be so busy. So, what's next for you and your channel? What's coming up for you?
I'm gonna start to, and it's like six months. I just I'm been trying to just learn what the hell it is I'm doing. You know, I mean, you probably feel the same way, right? Like,
yeah, 100%.
Yeah, there's a learning curve. I feel like, okay, I'm just now. I feel like kind of, I'm not gonna say comfortable, but so
it's
I want to talk.
Easier.
Yeah, I want to talk to more people. I'd like to do like more of what you do. I'd like to maybe, I mean, not as much as, I mean, like I say, you're the king, man, but I maybe shoot for like maybe one a month or maybe hanging out with booktubers like this, which I haven't done that on my channel at all. I've done that with Tori on hers and with you. And I think Andrew asked me to come on. It's like, oh my God, it's the funnest time. And I would like to start doing some of that on mine. And I'd like to, and I was talking with, my kid is my partner. So we brainstorm and do everything together.
I love
it. And we're kind of talking about, of course, it will always be focused on the fantastical sci-fi horror fantasy, but I would like to start, maybe if I can find someone to talk to about how do we relay story? How do you relay story as an artist and you're not a writer? Just artists that do the covers and they relay from one single image, relay something to us that make us want to pick up that book. How do you work? Do you work with the publisher? Do you work with the writer? Where do you come up with your ideas? What type of, and I just want to start reaching out and branching out into different types of story and maybe talking to different types of people for the art of story,
I love that. I've had similar thought. You and I have a lot of the same reasons for being here. And it's not just about loving a book. It's about everything that's incorporated with it. And the artist is a huge part of, oh my gosh, I've reached out to a couple myself. The ones that I've reached out are, they're very busy. Eventually I'll get them on here.
I'll give you a tip. I'm not supposed to say anything. I'm not supposed, and I can't say the name.
Don't.
But probably like by end of next month or beginning of the new year, I will have a cover artist on to talk to me about what they do.
Mm-hmm.
And this individual has won every major award in fantastical fiction.
Wow, I cannot wait, dude. That
Think
sounds
of an
so
award.
fun.
Think of an award. Hugo. Think of it. He's won probably multiple
That's exciting.
with his work. So, but like you say, he's in deadline right now, and is like, John, I can't even, And the only reason I was able to reach out to him was I used to co-own a comic book store, and he was one of my regular customers. So we got to, know each other.
I have a couple
like,
names in my head that I'm excited for you, man. I'm so excited.
Yeah.
I'm more excited to watch it, and so, but that's awesome. I'm so excited for that. But another part, editors,
right, editors,
like proofreaders.
I just watched an interview with AP from Critical Dragon. It's like, and I was just riveted, like the kind of work that an editor does, putting a book together. Like, yeah, exactly, stuff like that. I mean, how do we partake story now? Like, so much of us take it through video gaming. That's a big part of how we take in story. Theater. Also, it's all kinds of stuff.
One guy that I just talked to, he actually writing books as an indie author is kind of like what he does on the side. What he does during the day. His name's Andy Ewington. I think it was 2 interviews ago. He wrote the Hero Interviews. This is his words. He describes it as a toilet book. So it's a toilet sitter. He says you can read us one of the interviews from like a bard or like a barbarian. Set it down. You don't have to read a bunch at a time, and it's thick. I don't have it in front of me, but anyway, he does games. He writes like scripts for games. I'm
fascinated
comics.
by that. I'm fascinated by that because I know the classical arc of, the Socratic art of character that is in so much of literature. I think they use it a completely different way of structuring a story for video games, and I would love to be able to talk to, how do you put that together? How does that work?
Yeah. So, Andy, what he kind of told me, he wrote for like Dark Souls 3. He did comic books for that, and then Just Cause, he did comics books for that, which is another video game. So yeah, just all the different areas that you can go with. We love books, but there's so many different areas in which we can speak with people and learn more about it.
Absolutely. Comics. That's another huge, man. I've always loved comics all my life. I would love to talk to some people that like pencil, ink, edit, write. There's a whole world of how do you put a story together in a collaborative way in an art form that goes all the way back to when we crushed up berries and painted on cave walls to tell a story.
Yes.
Like what an amazing conversation that could be. I think anyway. So but I'm a little weird.
No, you are 100% right. And like I said, our brains are on the same wavelength. And I'm happy to hear that because I thought that I was, like you said, I thought I was weird and wanting to know all that stuff. But I think there's so many people who want to hear that story. And really, they look to us to kind of tell that story unless they open their own BookTube channel and whatnot.
Yeah.
So maybe we have a mission to succeed in.
There you
so
go,
that's
man.
cool, man. One of my last ones is someone you'd like me to reach out to interview in the future.
Oh, wow. Okay. Someone I'd like for you to reach out and interview in the future. You've had so many. This is hard because you've had so many interviews. I mean, I bet I couldn't think of somebody. I love what you do for the indie space. Okay, I got one. And you might have already talked to him, but after Caden's book comes out, I'd love to see you talk to Caden.
All right, Caden. Well, he knows this. He hasn't been on the interview, my list for interviews yet. But once his book is almost out, because I want to kind of throw a little launch thing for him.
Oh yeah, that'll be awesome. Because I think I think that idea is so fresh, right? Like I just haven't seen something like that. And for dude, like we were talking, your mission shining a light on this indie spotlight, which I was completely, and that's part of what I'm saying. It's like I was completely ignorant and had a blind spot to the whole indie movement.
Me too.
And in starting this channel, it's like I have read so much amazing stuff.
Quality.
Like, and I can't understand why it's not on every, like we were just talking about Michael R. Miller stuff. Like, how is that series not
Oh.
on every freaking Barnes and Noble shelf everywhere?
Guys,
man?
if you haven't yet, I'm so glad you brought him back up. Michael R. Miller's The Song of Chaos, Songs of Chaos, his
Yeah.
trilogy. Oh man, I haven't read all 3 books, but the first. And
Yeah,
he's
same.
on his way.
I've read the first book, and it's like, sure, you can say Dragon Rider, familiar tropes, but he subverts them in so wonderful ways that makes it so. I was just struck by the breadth of originality to it.
It's like, all right, let's go on this fun adventure. I'm here for the ride. Like, there's Dragon Rider books and this and that, like you said, but a lot of the ones that I've read are good, but they don't take me on that. Like, my stomach kind of gets this feeling like, oh, here we go. This is going to be so much fun.
Yeah, yeah. And the emotionality of it, I mean, this guy goes on a journey, dude. Like, yeah.
And he kind of the main character kind of starts at the bottom and finds himself. He wishes for something. It's starting to come true, and lots of things happen. But lastly, I would just like to thank you, man. I'm so glad that we finally got to do this, and my camera didn't poop out on us, and it's been a lot of fun, man. So I really appreciate you.
Oh man, I tell you, I've looked forward to this since it came to me Sunday night. It's like, oh, we get our second chance. This is the most fun, and it's the first of many, man. Like you say, we're on a wavelength, and I just think we're both class of 2023 on BookTube.
Yes,
and I think as we keep going on and we keep growing and we keep working, we're just going to keep working together, and I can't wait.
Oh my gosh, thank you for saying that. I feel the exact same way, guys. If I'm sure you all already subscribe to his channel, but it's the best. It's wonderful. Go subscribe. And until next time, John and everybody who watched and will in the future, thank you so much, and have a wonderful day, y'all.
Thanks, man. Best to you.